Breaking news this Thursday night, the coronavirus now declared a global health emergency.
We're all in this together, and we can only stop it together.
The World Health Organization praises China's response, as some Canadians criticize Ottawa.
It's been rudderless.
A Global News exclusive, new revelations about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's disastrous trip to India. Good news for smokers, why it's never too late to butt out. And the footwear dubbed a runner's soulmate.
Believe you can fly.
The shoes kicking off controversy in competitions.
Global National with Dawna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with news about the new coronavirus outbreak. The World Health Organization has now declared it an international public health emergency. It's concerned countries with weak healthcare systems may not be able to cope. The WHO stressed 99% of cases are in China, and it praised that country's response. The numbers, though, keep rising. Chinese authorities are reporting more than 9,400 confirmed cases worldwide now. The vast majority are in China, and there are thousands more suspected cases there. Every province in mainland China now has confirmed cases. On this map, the darker the red, the higher the number. Wuhan, the capital of Hubei province where this outbreak began, has the most, over 1,000 cases. 213 people have now died from this new strain of coronavirus, all of them in China. And the WHO says China, which has put millions of people under quarantine, is rapidly building new hospitals to handle all the sick people, too. It says it's set a new standard for outbreak response.
I have never seen in my life this kind of mobilization, the measures they're taking, which I believe will reverse the tide. But not only what they're doing is protecting their people, but I know from the figures also, you know that it's protecting the rest of the world.
There are more than 100 confirmed cases outside mainland China. They're scattered across at least 19 countries and territories. India has now confirmed its first case, and so has the Philippines. Canada's health minister says the risk here remains low, and declaring a global health emergency does not change that. The government is still working on a plan to airlift Canadians trapped in Wuhan, the center of the outbreak. We'll get to that in just a moment, but we begin with Redmond Shannon on the WHO declaration and what it means.
This was the World Health Organization's third emergency meeting on the coronavirus outbreak. And on this occasion, after hours of debate, the panel voted to declare a global health emergency.
The main reason for this declaration is not because of what is happening in China, but because of what is happening in other countries.
The head of the WHO repeatedly praised China's response to the outbreak, saying it can turn the tide.
It's actually doing more than China is required to do. This is to protect especially countries with weaker health system.
Labelling this a global health emergency means more international resources for prevention and more help in finding a vaccine. But it doesn't mean restricting travel for now.
WHO doesn't recommend and actually opposes any restrictions for travel and trade or other measures against China.
Regardless of the decision, concern about the virus has already spread globally. Air France is among the growing list of airlines suspending all flights to and from mainland China.
C'est pas une demande de l'État français.
The head of the cabin crew union said staff had demanded the airline take action. 6,000 cruise ship passengers were stopped from disembarking at an Italian port after a Chinese woman on board showed symptoms of coronavirus. It was later confirmed she was not infected. Turkey is among the countries sending planes to bring citizens home. Spanish and British citizens will be held in quarantine for 2 weeks when they arrive back on Friday. Meanwhile, the Philippines and India have both declared their first cases. And in Thailand, stores are selling out of face masks. This Chinese virologist says it could take 2 to 4 weeks before the virus is under control. But at the current rate, that could mean hundreds of thousands of people could be infected by then. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Canada has not acted as fast as some other countries to get people out of Wuhan, where there's been a lockdown now for days. Almost 200 Canadians who are stranded want help getting home. The government has a plane in place, but beyond that, the logistics are still being worked out, as Abigail Bimman explains.
Okay. We'll talk to you again shortly. As soon as I have news, I will tell you.
But for Monty Gisborne in Coquitlam, BC, and his wife Daniela Liu in Wuhan, there's been no news. They finally got a call from Canadian officials, a formal phone interview they said would happen in an hour. But 12 hours later, nothing.
I'm so scared and confusing because no information.
Liu, along with their daughter Dominica, also in Wuhan, are permanent Canadian residents. They don't even know if they'll be allowed on the Canadian plane whenever it arrives.
They keep focusing on the fact that Canadians will be on that airplane. What does that mean? I mean, to us, it's got a different, perhaps, definition than maybe most other people.
The risk to Canadians in Canada continues to be low. We have strong measures in place.
But no one can say when the plane Ottawa has secured will arrive, nor what will happen in terms of screening or isolation.
We are flying a non-commercial flight into a new country that is under quarantine, that has some very strict protocols about where planes can land and what the protocols might be. And so that requires negotiations with the Chinese government.
Trudeau was asked multiple times about a Globe and Mail report saying the government has already helped some Canadian diplomat families get out, but he wouldn't answer as so many other Canadians struggle to get consular help.
I can assure you that our consular staff in China, in Beijing, but also right across the country, is fully engaged on this issue.
We are in history right now.
Montrealer Felicity Fang is visiting her parents in Wuhan. Her father now helping build a new hospital for coronavirus patients, and she's worried about him.
From the government who told us, if you're staying inside, the chance of your survival is much bigger than if you go out. Even you wear a lot of protection, your gloves, your glasses, and most importantly, your mask has to be changed like every 4 hours.
So many considerations as Ottawa tries to figure out how to bring Canadians home. The latest information is 196 people want consular help of some kind, and China is saying if anyone is sick, they won't be allowed to leave. Abigail Bimman, Global News, Ottawa.
This virus is a reminder how interconnected the world is. Apart from making so many people in China sick, it's put a chill on doing business with that country. The World Health Organization made a point to say today China should not be punished because of this outbreak, and it opposes any restrictions on travel and trade. Companies that rely on the country for their supply chain, though, are worried about production as factories sit idle. And today, the American Commerce Secretary said the blow to China could be good for American jobs. Jackson Proskow reports.
The world's factory, China, is slowing down production. Car makers have idled plants. Companies like Google and Facebook have closed their offices.
The emerging threat from a new strain of coronavirus is a reminder of the need to be vigilant.
Economic experts have warned it all poses a risk to the already shaky global economy if companies can't manufacture their goods and if consumer demand in the world's second largest economy drops off. In China, stores from IKEA to Starbucks have already shut their doors.
What's harder to predict is what happens over the longer term.
The SARS outbreak in 2003 cost the world economy more than $33 billion. Nearly 2 decades later, China is a much bigger player, now Canada's second largest trading partner.
They're far more connected, and that means that when you have something like the coronavirus, the impact felt throughout the world could be far more significant.
One example, the ubiquitous iPhone, made in China. There are warnings that production could be vulnerable to supply chain or labor disruptions. And as airlines cancel flights to and from the country, the demand side is taking a hit. Chinese tourists, the highest per capita spenders, are staying home. We need Chinese customers because it's Chinese customers who buy the most, says this worried Paris shopkeeper.
Economy come to a halt.
In Washington, President Trump's Commerce Secretary bluntly called coronavirus an economic win for the U.S.
I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America.
The reality is, with the world economy already slowing, everyone is at risk, even if the coronavirus is contained. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
We explain more about the virus and what it means to declare a global health emergency on our website, globalnews.ca/globalnational. Now to a Global News exclusive. We've uncovered a key document, a government document that sheds new light on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's trip to India nearly 2 years ago. He went there to strengthen Canada-India relations. It turned into a diplomatic disaster. He was criticized for everything from what he wore to the guest list. Our chief political correspondent, David Akin, obtained the document. David, what are we learning about the visit?
Well, Dawna, it took Global News nearly 2 years to obtain this, a 300-page briefing book prepared for then Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland as she accompanied the Prime Minister on his India trip. Now, some sections have been blacked out by government censors, but there is much that is coming to light for the first time. Throughout the briefing book, there is a sense of hope, of optimism that the Trudeau government could take the relationship to new heights. This visit, the book says, has the potential to reflect a genuine turning point in the Canada-India relationship. Well, it was a turning point, all right, turned in the wrong direction.
Absolutely. It was a turning point towards a much worse situation between the two countries.
In Canada and in India. The trip flopped amid snickers at elaborate Trudeau photo ops and clothing changes. One planned photo op could have been a doozy. Trudeau, his wife Sophie, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had planned a joint hour-long yoga session in front of the cameras. That photo op was cancelled before Trudeau left Canada. But India experts say Canadian planners seemed not to have had a clear objective for the trip.
They haven't gone in with a plan per se. There's no ask of India and there's no offer for India, and that in itself has been the challenge.
To me, it reflects the absence of a larger, deeper strategic agenda.
But to the Indian government, the trip was a dud for a much more serious reason. The Trudeau government was not seen as taking Indian concerns about Sikh terrorism seriously.
And of course, almost literally blew up at the final High Commissioner's event with a convicted would-be assassin that was somehow on the guest list for this reception at Canada House, and it couldn't have possibly played worse.
And yet the bureaucrats who wrote Freeland's briefing book warned time and again that she and Trudeau must, quote, clarify Canada's position with respect to perceptions of Sikh extremism in Canada to reset bilateral relations on a new footing. That 2018 India trip, though, failed to reset relations, and now, 2 years later, a frozen relationship is just beginning to thaw. Dawna?
Okay, David in Ottawa, thanks. And tomorrow, David will look at where the relationship between Canada and India stands now and whether India will help Canada win a seat on the UN Security Council. The police in Ottawa have launched a hate crime investigation after the National Holocaust Memorial was vandalized. The monument was pelted with eggs just days after the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. A week ago, the Ottawa Police Service announced it is reinstating its hate crime unit and adding 2 investigators to its security intelligence section to address a surge in hate crimes. It says incidents such as this are deeply disturbing and will not be tolerated. New suspects in the great escape of Nissan's former boss. Coming up, the 3 other people on Japan's wanted list. Plus, illegal and historic, the record-breaking fine between the U.S. and Mexico, and PETA's proposal for Groundhog Day. You're looking at the longest cross-border smuggling tunnel ever discovered between Mexico and the United States. Stretching more than 1 kilometer, the length of 9 football fields, the tunnel runs from San Diego to Tijuana, Mexico. And it's elaborate, equipped with an extensive rail and car system, air ventilation, drainage, even an elevator. Mexican officials made the discovery in August in a Tijuana parking lot for cargo trucks and worked with U.S. authorities to map it. It's unclear who built the tunnel, but the area has been a stronghold of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel. Prosecutors in Tokyo have issued arrest warrants for 3 Americans suspected of helping Nissan's former boss, Carlos Ghosn, escape from Japan to avoid criminal charges. Ghosn skipped bail and fled the country in December while awaiting trial on charges of hiding income and breach of trust. The warrant claims the 3 men, including a former U.S. Special Forces soldier, helped smuggle Ghosn in portable luggage so he could sneak through immigration checks and get on a private jet to Turkey, the first leg of his escape. He made it to Lebanon. That's where he is now, where he holds citizenship. Prosecutors also issued an arrest warrant for Ghosn, who they say left Japan illegally. Japan has no extradition treaty with Lebanon, though, so it's unlikely he'll be arrested. Facebook has agreed to pay $550 million to settle a class action lawsuit over its use of facial recognition technology. The software suggested tags for people it identified in users' photos. That, the lawsuit alleges, violated Illinois' Biometric Information Privacy Act because it took and stored user data without written permission and did not tell users how long that data would be stored. Facebook's settlement will be paid out to eligible users in Illinois. For years, Facebook claimed it had done nothing wrong, but it has now discontinued the photo tag suggestion tool. Ahead, damage undone, evidence it's never too late for smokers to quit.
You're watching Global National.
Smoking is a leading cause of premature death, yet about 15% of Canadians continue to light up. The link between smoking and lung cancer is irrefutable, and it's been widely assumed the damage smoking does to lungs can't be undone. Now, new research from the UK reveals something surprisingly different. Heather Yourex-West explains.
The medical advice has been clear for decades. To reduce your risk of cancer and other diseases, don't smoke. And if you do, quit. On average, smoking takes about 10 years off a person's lifespan. The previous research has shown that people who quit before their early 40s can get about 9 of those years back. Now, scientists at the University College London have discovered why.
We were basically really interested in what smoking damage there was in what we would think were normal cells of the airways down into the lung.
Over time, the chemicals in tobacco smoke mutate lung cells, slowly changing them from healthy to cancerous. And while it's been thought those changes were permanent, researchers found that after a smoker quits, their surviving healthy lung cells can regenerate, replacing the damaged cells.
We think what's happening is that there are some cells in our lungs that are sort of perhaps hidden away or somehow resistant to smoke damage. And then when you stop smoking, for some reason, they become sort of more powerful and they therefore start growing and expanding and pushing out the smoking damaged cells.
Researchers found that after about a decade, the lungs of ex-smokers looked similar to those who had never smoked. Bob Sumner kicked a pack-a-day habit 10 years ago.
Overall, I'm going to be 61 next month and I feel so healthy. I was one of the lucky ones. My lungs have actually recovered to the point where I can go bust a spin class, and I actually teach spin sometimes.
Knowing how lung cells regenerate could also one day lead to new therapies.
If we can people to stop smoking, then we could perhaps give them a drug or an inhaler or something to help these cells grow out and therefore protect them from actually developing cancer in the first place.
Giving even long-time smokers a new reason to quit. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Leveling the track, why this shoe may get the boot. You know this guy. He and his predecessors have been predicting winter's end for over a century. Well, now the animal rights group PETA says it's time for Punxsutawney Phil to retire. They believe an artificial intelligence robot should replace the rodents, but with just 3 days to go until we find out if he's seen his shadow or not, Phil's not likely to get this Groundhog Day off. For elite runners, every fraction of a second counts, and now there are claims a shoe could be giving some top marathoners an unfair advantage. The shoes are called VaporFlies. Nike claims they are the fastest shoes they've ever made. The international governing body for track and field is looking at whether the shoes actually violate the rules. Jeff Semple reports.
This two-time Olympic marathon runner is training for the Summer Games in Tokyo. And this time round, he's adding an extra spring to his step.
The second you put it on your feet, you just know that there's more spring to it.
Reed Coolsat recently laced up a pair of Nike VaporFlies. The running shoes could shave precious seconds off of his run time. That is, assuming he's still allowed to wear them.
If there's shoes that are faster and they're allowed by World Athletics, I want to be in them too. I don't want to be left behind.
Nike VaporFly is widely considered the fastest shoe on the track. The secret is in the sole. It contains high-efficiency foam fused with a carbon fiber plate, curved under the front, helping a runner rock from heel to toe. When a runner's foot hits the pavement, much of the energy propelling them forward is lost. But one study found the VaporFly shoe retains around 4% more energy. In a marathon, that's enough to shave 2% off of a run time.
2% is monstrous. That's the difference between a gold medal, a world record.
Since their release in 2016, the shoes have shattered world records, raising questions about whether Nike has taken its tech a step too far.
Sport organizations are trying to negotiate how much technology to permit before it becomes about the technology and not the athlete.
Track and field is far from the only sport struggling with how to balance talent with tech. In the 1960s, pole vaulting raised the bar by allowing controversial fiberglass poles, while swimming's governing body banned high-tech supersuits that made swimmers more buoyant after Michael Phelps threatened to boycott competitions.
They attempted to hold the line at that particular point because the suits were improving every 6 months, when they were out. And so that looks like it's going to start happening with the shoes now.
On Friday, World Athletics is expected to tighten its regulations regarding high-tech running shoes, but it will likely still allow Nike VaporFly to run its course. Jeff Semple, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Dawna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Porcupine Lake near Timmins, Ontario. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to us. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.